Hello everyone, welcome to Daily Current Affairs Analysis brought to you by Shankar IAS Academy. Before we start, if you haven't subscribed this video, please subscribe for regular updates. We will discuss the news for the date of 14th of August 2025. The topics which we are going to discuss are: first one is regarding electoral roll revision, second is regarding the process for Highcourt judge removal, third is regarding heat waves, fourth is regarding the India Semiconductor mission, and fifth we will talk about Prelims Bits, that is one liners which we can use in mains and which can be also asked in prelims. In this article we will talk about electoral roll revision. Now what is electoral roll? It contains the list of eligible voters of a particular constituency. Now is it static? No, it has to be updated regularly. For example, new voters has to be added and people who have died has to be removed from the roll. Now who updates this? This is updated by the Election Commission of India. Now we will see another aspect, that is with regard to the Representation of Peoples Act 1950. There is an important aspect of qualifying date as mentioned in section 14 of the particular act. Now what is this qualifying date? It is very much similar to our cutoff date as mentioned in exam notifications. Initially it was 1st of January of every year. Later, after an amendment, now it includes 1st of January, 1st of April, 1st of July and 1st of October. Next important section in this act is section 21. It deals with the preparation and revision of electoral rolls. Normally, when a final electoral roll is published, it takes immediate effect. Just before till this publication, the previous electoral roll is in effect. Now there are three normal types of revisions mentioned under this particular section. It happens first when just before parliamentary elections and state assembly elections. Second happens before by-elections of a particular constituency. The third thing happens as and when the Election Commission of India wants to do it based on the qualifying date. Another important aspect is it also mentioned about a special type of revision of electoral rolls. Now if you look at this diagram, it displays the normal cycle of an electoral roll revision. Just after the revision exercise is done, the draft publication is published. Now this is just a draft, this is not a final one, and this draft is available in website and even the polling stations. This you can use it as an example of good governance also. So after this draft is made available, people are given time to file claims and objections. Then the Election Commission of India finally disposes these claims and objections and later publishes this final electoral roll. And as soon as it is published, it comes into immediate effect. Now having discussed this, we will now see where and all this question can be asked. In prelims, they can directly ask regarding the qualifying date. For example, initially it was just 1st of January, then after an amendment 4 new dates were added. So they might ask question regarding to it. Also they might also ask about various types of revisions that are mentioned under this act. Now they might confuse you with, instead of mentioning it as under Representation of Peoples Act of 1950, they might mention that it's under the Constitution of India. So be careful while reading such types of question. The next article we will be seeing is about removal of High Court judge. The Article 124 and Article 218 of the Indian Constitution deals with removal of Supreme Court judge and High Court judge. There are mainly two grounds which are specified in the Constitution for removal of the High Court judge, and they are proven misbehavior and incapacity. One thing is to be noted is that these two terms are not defined. That is, what amounts to proven misbehavior or what is meant by incapacity is not defined. Also, the word impeachment is not mentioned in the Constitution. Now, the Judges Inquiry Act of 1968 gives an elaborate process for removal of the judges. It provides a detailed procedure for investigation and parliamentary motion. Now, how the process is initiated? The process can be initiated at either of the two houses of the parliament. If it is initiated in the Lok Sabha, it has to be signed by minimum of 100 MPs and submitted it to the speaker. If it is initiated in the Rajya Sabha, it has to be signed by at least 50 members and submitted it to the chairman. Once submitted, if it is once this motion is admitted, the speaker or a chairman constitutes a inquiry committee, which is mentioned under the Judges Inquiry Act of 1968. This committee consists of a judge of a Supreme Court, a High Court judge, and a distinguished jurist. Now, when this committee inquires, and then prepares a final report and finds them to be guilty, the House takes the voting for it. Now, this vote has to be passed. This motion, has to be passed in both the houses. The majority required here is special majority. That is, it has to be passed by majority of total strength of the house and greater than two-thirds of members present and voting. And it has to be passed by both the houses separately. And then this thing goes to president. And when president issues an order for removal of the High Court judge. Another important thing is the Supreme Court judge and High Court judge are removed in the same way. Now this is a flowchart which is given, which you can use it for your reference. Now after saying this, we will look how the questions can be found. In prelims, they can directly ask like statements which are true or not. For example, they might ask, the process of removal of Supreme Court judge and High Court judge are the same. Or they might mention the articles and ask whether which article relates to removal of High Court judge or which article relates to removal of Supreme Court judge. Also, they might confuse you with the procedures as laid on in the Judges Inquiry Act. They might confuse you with by saying that it is mentioned under the Constitution instead of the Judges Inquiry Act. These are the possible ways in which the prelims question can be found. In mains, we can expect a question on collegium system or National Judicial Appointments Committee. The next topic which we are going to discuss today is about heat waves. Now, what is a heat wave? A heat wave is a prolonged period of high temperature coupled with high humidity. So there are three main things in it. It is high temperature and high humidity, and that too for a prolonged period of time. Now IMD has a criteria for classifying heat waves. So also there are different thresholds for different regions. Now the criteria is, if it is greater than 4.5 degrees Celsius to 6.4, it is classified as heat wave, and if it exceeds 6.4 degrees Celsius, it is classified as severe heat wave. And regardless of this, if the temperature is greater than or equal to 45 degrees Celsius, it is also classified as heat wave. Now, one major reason why this classification is done is to ensure that both the citizens and the government are ready to take mitigative steps for addressing this heat wave. Now we will see the impacts of heat wave. First, on health. It adversely affects the individual and it may cause stroke, also dehydration, and if it is left as it is, it may even cause death, especially among the malnourished or undernourished people. On agriculture, it reduces the land productivity. Also, the crop yield is reduced because of prolonged high temperature. It also increases the demand for water, and thus it may lead to overexploitation and depletion of water resources. In energy sector, usually during heat waves, the demand for energy increases. For example, we might have observed during summers the demand for electricity is more, so as to run the air conditioning systems and fan. Similarly, during heat waves, the demand for energy increases, thus increasing the carbon emissions, because the majority of our electricity is still being produced by thermal power plants. On environment, this high prolonged period of high temperature actually results in greater number of forest fires, especially seen in European and North American countries. On economy, such heat waves usually results in low worker productivity. Now we will see the general heat wave prone regions in India. Usually, it mainly affects the northern part and the northwestern part of our country. These are the two examples of heat wave in our country. The severe heat wave occurred in 2015, which resulted in 2,400 deaths, and it was across the states of Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Odisha, and some parts of Delhi. Second heat wave example is of 2022, which affected the northwest and central India. It happened during the period of March to April, that is during the summer and just before the onset of monsoon. The reasons for this was early onset of summer and lack of pre-monsoon showers. After seeing this topic, we will now see how the questions can be asked. In prelims, we might be asked direct definition about it, about the heat waves, or we might be asked the classification according to the IMT. In mains, these heat waves can be linked to climate change. Now it's been said that climate change is responsible for increased intensity and frequency of heat waves. So in mains, you can be asked a question based on these two. For example, increasing heat waves leads to increase in energy demand. Again, energy demand leads to more carbon dioxide emissions. This increased carbon dioxide emissions further exacerbates the climate change. So this forms like a cycle. So you can be asked questions based on these things also. And even you can mention it as an example in mains exam based on the questions asked. The next article we will see about India's semiconductor mission. And these are the four projects which have been approved. Two are in Bhubaneswar, Odisha, one is in Mohali, Punjab, and one is in Andhra Pradesh. And the silicon carbide is important and we have discussed in the further slides. So what is semiconductor? It is a substance that has conductivity between that of insulators and conductors. Its conductivity can be varied by adding impurities in its structure. Now they are widely used in electronics and even in solar cells. The widely used semiconductors is silicon. Now we'll see about India's semiconductor mission. It was launched in December 2021 under the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology. Its aim is to develop a sustainable semiconductor and display ecosystem in India, making the country a global hub for manufacturing electronics, and it has a budget outlay of 76,000 crores. Now it also offers incentives up to 50% of project cost, and its nodal agency is India's Semiconductor Mission. It is an independent business division under the Digital India Corporation. Now we'll see about silicon carbide technology. What is silicon carbide? It is a compound formed by the combination of silicon and carbon. Its advantage is that it has higher thermal conductivity, higher breakdown voltage, and it can also operate at higher temperatures when compared to traditional silicon based semiconductors, and it can be widely used in electric vehicle inverters and defense technologies. Now we will see why India needs semiconductor self-reliance. First aspect is that we import 100% of the semiconductors. Second, because of the geopolitical risk associated with it, the global supply chains are heavily dependent upon Taiwan, South Korea and China. So we are very much vulnerable to disruptions. Third, if this supply chain is disrupted, we will have a huge economic impact. Having seen this article, we can see how the questions can be asked. In prelims, we can be asked about silicon carbide technology and its advantages over traditional silicon based semiconductors. Second, they might also ask about the major semiconductors manufacturing countries. Now we will see prelims bits. These are one-liners which can be useful for prelims as well as mains. First one is the Automotive Mission Plan of 2047. It is a roadmap by the Ministry of Heavy Industries to make India's auto sector globally competitive, expand exports, and tackle tech and infrastructure gaps. Second one is about Export Promotion Mission. It is a scheme to boost exports by improving credit access, enabling cross-border factoring, and helping the MSMEs to tackle non-tariff barriers. Third one is INS Sandhyak. It is India's first indigenous survey vessel large with advanced hydrography, coastal and deep water survey, search and rescue, and humanitarian capabilities. It was commissioned in 2024 by Ministry of Defense. Also, I'll request you to kindly check Samudran Mission and Matsya 6000. Next is regarding Maha Abhiyan. It's a nationwide campaign by the Department of Fertilizers to promote nano DAP, that is diammonium phosphate, across all agroclimatic zones, aiming to boost farm productivity, improve soil health, cut input cost, and support sustainable agriculture. The last one is regarding Vigyan Dhara scheme. It is a central sector scheme by the Ministry of Science and Technology to boost capacity building, research, innovation, and technological development. If you have found this video helpful, please like this video and give your valuable feedback. Thank you and have a nice day.